to have tried to win the games for 9 years and to have failed 9 times, that's hard emotionally. Like, again, I have a beautiful life. I'm so happy. I'm usually in a very good mood and very grateful for the life that I'm living. But
it was 5 years since I had made it to the CrossFit Games at that point, and it just felt like every year I was just failing, and it was getting, I would call it just not fun anymore, because I felt like it was almost like the universe was telling me, you shouldn't be doing this, because I put so much time and work into it, and I was, trying my hardest, and it just felt like it was just not good enough every single year. And so before that event, I remember Adam saying, like, just do what you did in practice, and you're going to the CrossFit Games.
Would you rather compete at the games for 12 years and always do pretty well, top 10?
Top 10.
Yep, top 10 every year for 10 years. Or would you rather win the games next year and be done? Alexis, it's polite to call gentlemen papi chulo.
Papi chulo?
Yeah.
Papi chulo. That's what we call everyone here.
That's like saying gentleman. No, my is like bro.
Dude. Oh.
But papi chulo is like respect to the elderly.
To the elderly?
Well, not the elderly, but like not a kid,
Yeah.
like a man.
Yeah, you should try it on the streets.
Papi chulo?
All right, guys.
Is it a swear word?
No, it's like sexy daddy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
So it's a zaddy.
Yes, there you go. Catching on.
All right, guys. I think we're live already.
Uh-oh.
No.
It's a good way to start.
Yeah, so welcome to another podcast of the Doer Fitness series. Today, as you may have noticed, we are doing this in English because of our two very prestigious guests.
¿Por qué no español?
We could try, Alexis. Do you
Nope.
no Spanish?
Yo
Okay.
entiendo poquito, pero no suficiente.
No, but you do speak.
Gracias.
I mean, coming from Miami, I guess
Right.
it's kind of a given that not everyone speaks English, Spanish in Miami. Right?
No, not everyone. A good amount of people speak probably both Spanish and English, so I've picked up on some over the years, but not enough yet to have a full conversation.
Okay, cool. Okay, with joining me today, Mr. Noah Olsen. You are a 9-time
Yes,
CrossFit
sir.
Games athlete, hopefully 10.
I hope so. That's the plan.
And Alexis Raptis. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Raptis?
Yep.
Okay. And you are a 3-time CrossFit Games athlete, right?
Whoa, let's go.
Yeah, I guess so.
3-time,
Yeah.
two as a teen, and
One as
an
individual.
Okay.
Yes.
You are a future CrossFit Games athlete.
Hopefully,
I feel it in my bones.
Hopefully, that's what we're gonna try to achieve in the upcoming years.
I believe it.
Okay, guys. So how has Costa Rica been treating you? First impressions.
It's beautiful. That's definitely, I would say, first impression. We've spent most of our time in the gym so far, so haven't gotten to do too much exploring yet, but I know these guys are hanging for a few days after, so hopefully get the full Costa Rica experience.
Yeah. I've never been outside the country, so
really? Is this
for
your
me,
first
it's
time?
a whole new experience.
A whole new world.
It's a whole new world.
That
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that. What's the differences that you've noticed so far? Like,
The culture, we don't like the mountains and all the landscape and everything. It's much different than Georgia. Obviously speaking a different language. I'm like the only one. I'm just sitting with like Travis. I mean, enough where you can kind of like pick up, but it's weird not knowing what everyone's saying.
yeah. Well, Max doesn't know. Well, you guys are here with Max because maybe people don't. The whole
Oh, yeah.
TTT crew is here, so it's you, Travis, Max,
Mia.
Julian, Mia, and
Mike.
I think are here.
Yeah.
Okay, but only Noah and Julian speak English, right? Spanish, right?
Mia knows
Mia
Spanish.
knows Portuguese, and it's similar to Spanish, so I
Very
think
similar.
she knows some.
Yeah.
Max knows a little bit. He probably honestly knows a little more than I do, just because he's smart and has studied. But yeah, Travis is definitely a big gringo.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys, so pretty much we want to know you guys. I mean, people know you from CrossFit, but maybe they don't know your background story. So we kind of want to know how you got started into CrossFit, how you, got into this. So maybe start with Noah, and then we'll head to you, Alexis.
Can we go ladies first? Is that okay?
Sure.
Be a gentleman, caballero.
So I started CrossFit in 2014. I was 15 years old. And at the time, I was trying to find something that I was super passionate about again.
Why do you say again?
I did sports growing up, and I tried different sports. I did soccer, and then I tried, I did gymnastics from, I think I started in 4th grade, and then I went till 8th grade. And during that time, it was something that I just poured everything into, was super passionate about it, loved it, wanted to do it in college. Ended up hurting my elbows, getting injured. I was injured for a year, and kind of had to take a step back from gymnastics and figure out what I wanted to do. And I loved the training side of it. I loved being strong and fit and being able to do things that other people couldn't at my age. And I remember seeing CrossFit on, I think it was ESPN or something, and they were doing bar muscle ups. And in gymnastics, it's basically like a glide kip, but in CrossFit, obviously you can't put your feet above the bar. But I remember seeing that and being like, oh my gosh, I can already do that. Like, I should try CrossFit. And
how old were you at that time?
When I saw it on TV, I was probably 13 or 14, and then I tried. There was a Sunday Fun Day class at a gym 5 or 10 minutes away from my house. And so I tried it for the first time, and I loved it. It was so different than anything that I was used to. And at the time I was doing like Globo gym workouts, so just machines and stuff, and spin classes, and I don't know, like boot camp stuff. And I just wasn't seeing any progress. I wasn't liking how I was feeling. I didn't feel like I was getting stronger. And so I wanted to switch things up. And the first day at CrossFit, they all made me do like handstand walks and handstand push-ups, and I did bar muscle ups, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in like an adult playground, kind of like gymnastics. And so I loved it, and then I was hooked from there. Do
you remember the first workout you did?
I remember some of the movements. We did these like tire flips.
Classic.
Tire flips, handstand push-ups, handstand walks, just fun stuff that I was just...
And you being a gymnast, I bet you just nailed everything, right?
Yeah, like I caught on very fast. The one thing that took me a really long time to learn was a ring muscle up. I think it took me 6 months, which was really frustrating.
Females don't usually use rings in gymnastics.
No, we
just
don't.
Men.
Yeah, so I had never done that before, but everything else I picked up on really fast, which was fun because it was... I just like it's so fun to be good at something, and I hadn't found my thing after I had quit gymnastics, and so I felt like I had finally found what I wanted to do at that point.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Did you immediately when you started CrossFit, did you commit to it, or did you like kind of did gymnastics and CrossFit at the same time?
I didn't get into it planning to compete or anything. I got into it just to get fit. And, I was in high school, so I was also doing high school sports. I did diving. I did soccer in high school as well. I did competitive cheer. What else did I do? I think that was it. And so after school, I would go to CrossFit until probably like 5 or 6. And then I would go to practice at my high school until like 9 or whatever. And I did that until my junior year, and then I decided to just do CrossFit because I was pretty tired. I felt like I just had no time.
Is that the year that you made it to the games as a teen for the first time?
I made it as a teen in 2015, which was my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
So my sophomore year of high school, I was super busy. I had no idea what the games were. It was new that year. It was the first year that they did it. And so I was still like doing sports. I was still being a normal teenager, just kind of showed up to the games and wanted to have fun, not take last place. And then once I did the games and realized, wow, if I put if I actually put more time into this, I could be good. And that's when I decided just to do CrossFit instead of trying to do sports along with it my junior year. And it definitely paid off. I mean, I made a ton of progress in that year. And then it was...
Came in second place, right?
Yeah, second place. And it was then that I was like, okay, I want to compete in this. I want to be really good at this. So, yeah.
Do you feel like having practiced and done all these other sports helped you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, gymnastics, I think, helped me the most. It's just the body awareness that you get from it, not having as much fear, just being open to try new things, having years of being on your hands and being upside down. It just, I mean, I think it transitioned me into CrossFit a lot smoother than some people who have never been on their hands before, and that alone is a challenge. The one thing I would say, we never really did any weightlifting, and so that has taken me years to get my strength numbers up. But for me, I mean, having the gymnastics background and having that has helped a ton, especially this year. We had a ton of gymnastics in the game. So
and you crushed the handstand.
Thank you.
Event winner.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, that was really fun. So I think it's helped me a ton.
Speaking of the strength and barbell stuff taking you the longest to learn, that was kind of the same for myself. But you did PR your snatch yesterday, right?
I did PR my snatch,
How
195.
much? Wow. And when you started, do you remember roughly what you were able to snatch back then?
Oh my gosh. Well,
even 100 pounds? Probably not, right?
Probably like 105, because I remember my first year at the games, they did Amanda, and it was 95 pounds, and that was so heavy. I had lifters on, I had a belt on, knee sleeves. I mean, I had everything on. I was suited up for 95-pound snatches, so it was probably right around there.
Yeah, so you've put on 100 pounds.
Yeah.
That's pretty
and that's amazing. That's what CrossFit does. I mean, I feel like at the beginning, you're starting to PR every single week, but then you kind of plateau, right? And then like 5 pounds is a major win for everyone, right?
Yeah. I remember trying to PR every single week, like something new. I would just go in there and be like, okay, let's just build to a heavy jerk today,
and see
or
what
overhead
happens.
squat. Yeah, and it was just PR every single time because you've never done it, really.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because nowadays, nowadays people are starting to do CrossFit as a sport at 10 years old, 12 years old? And do you feel like, would you recommend that, or would you recommend people to try other sports and then do CrossFit kind of on the side, try to compete for the teens? Because that's been like a big debate here with coaches, is that people are leaving high school sports and not doing the college sports because they're focusing on CrossFit and because you now have the teens division and stuff. What would you recommend? I mean, would you think it's better? You kind of did that, and it seems it has worked for you, but like people are starting to do CrossFit at 10, 12 years old. Do you think that's...
I mean, I would say I wouldn't change how I did it. I'm really happy that I did high school sports. I think it's really important to be a part of sports. It teaches you a lot, and you're able to make friends and have that just fun high school experience that you never get back. I think CrossFit will just always be here. And so I would say do sports as long as you can, and it will only help you when you do start to take CrossFit a little bit more seriously. I think there's nothing wrong with doing both. Yeah.
I feel the same way, I think so.
Yeah,
Mr. Noah.
Hello.
Tells your
Hola.
story. Tells your story.
Yo soy Noah Olsen de Miami, but I was actually born up in Rhode Island, which is in the northeast part of the United States. I've lived in South Florida for a very long time. Man, my story, I don't know where to begin. Do we want like the whole picture, just kind of the CrossFit version of it?
We can go as long as you want.
All right, I'll do a very summarized version. So similar to Alexis, I grew up playing many different sports: American football, American soccer, regular football, baseball, lacrosse ended up being the sport that I played the most. I feel like that's not a very Latin sport.
I didn't even know lacrosse was a thing
Yeah.
until I got to the States for college.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, it wasn't even on the radar.
For sure. It's not a very popular sport worldwide, I would say, relative to others.
Is it like, do you have a professional league? Is it?
Yep. Yeah, there are a few professional leagues. It's probably the biggest in college.
Okay.
But it was like a Native American sport. That's kind of where it started. Anyway, that was my main sport for a while. Going into high school, they didn't have a lacrosse team, so I had to decide what I wanted to do. I considered going to a different school just to continue pursuing lacrosse, because I think I potentially could have played in college and maybe professionally because I'd done it for so long. But anyway, I decided to stay at the school near my home, switch it up. I tried wrestling my freshman year, got beat up a bunch, decided I didn't like that feeling. So I joined the swimming and water polo team. I actually did a bit of diving myself that year. And then
I've seen a picture of like you with the long hair.
Yep. Rocking the Speedo. Yeah, we made some T-shirts of that for Wadapalooza a couple years ago. Nice little throwback. Yeah. But I enjoyed that. I think similar to Alexis, while hers was, well, I guess you said you had a multitude of sports that you played, but mainly gymnastics. I think all of the sports that I played probably benefited me in some way once I started doing CrossFit, which was my sophomore year of college. So I was about 19 years old, had just gotten into health and fitness from like reading Men's Health magazine and seeing the guys with the muscles. And I was like, I want to look like that. So I would work out in that style, found a CrossFit gym and got my butt kicked, fell in love. Didn't even know that the CrossFit Games existed until I'd been doing it for a little while. And just, it's interesting. I never really had the desire growing up to be a professional athlete. If you would have asked me, some little kids are like, oh, I'm going to be a professional baseball player in the MLB. That was never really a thing for me. So the fact that I fell into a career that has become this CrossFit journey for me was a pleasant surprise.
When did you think to yourself okay, I am going to be a professional athlete. I'm going to pursue this? This is kind of a question for both of you, because I feel like you in CrossFit you kind of start doing it and then you're like, okay, I'm good. I am going to pursue this, or maybe coach and try to be an athlete. But when did you know that you were going to be a professional athlete?
I had a little bit of the instant gratification of picking up on things quickly when I first started. I learned kipping pull-ups, which is not that complex, but I think I did that on the first day. And Guido, who owned the gym, is also a games athlete and a good friend of mine, was like, that's pretty impressive. Not many people get that right away. And then a muscle up in the first week. And so I had this sense when I first started, wow, I'm kind of good at this. Maybe I could be good. But then it was the opposite when I started pursuing, okay, maybe I want to compete with people and try to go to the games. I just got my butt kicked all the time. I was way too small, way too weak, didn't have all the skills. So when I started hanging with the big dogs, it definitely was not a vision where I was like, I'm really good at this. I'm going to do this for a profession. It was like, I want to get really good at this, but I'm not even close yet. I would say that when I finally realized that I could do it was probably at regionals in 2013. I didn't really have any expectations. I wanted to be a games athlete, but didn't believe that I could do it yet. And I think by the middle of the competition, I was in first place, and I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, is this really happening right now? These guys are so much better than me. How am I doing this? And that kind of gave me the confidence that I needed, where I qualified the next year. And it all just unfolded after that. I was graduating college in 2014, the same year that I qualified for the games. And so I didn't really have to make the decision in the middle where it was like, oh, I graduated college, haven't made the games yet. I need to go find a job. Do I want to try to balance doing both? I just graduated, went right into competing at the games, got a few sponsors, and then it felt like it was a profession.
Kind of naturally.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you?
I would say, so I competed at regionals in 2017, and I was still, what year was that? I think I was a senior in high school. And I don't remember exactly where I placed. I want to say like middle of the pack, maybe 15th or something. And I went into it not really having any expectations, but leaving and knowing, I mean, I had some really big holes. That was the year that they had the dumbbell, and a 50-pound dumbbell was like, I mean, I was belting up for it, and I wore gloves. Like,
that was the year that they did not have any barbells, only dumbbells?
Yeah, it was only dumbbells. And like, I did really well in certain workouts, and that really boosted my confidence. And then a couple other workouts I took like dead last. And so I knew if I was able to fill these strength holes, that I really could be consistent and I could make it. And I think that was the competition that I was just like, wow, I just need to keep doing this and keep chipping away and trusting the process. And I really, really want to make the games. But it took me a while. I was really, really small. And like I said, strength was just such a big hole that I wasn't able to make it to the games because of my strength. It was I don't know. It was just a way too big of a hole to be able to like manage with. Yes, my gymnastics was really good, but because my strength was so bad, there was no way I could make it. And so 2018, I think I was injured my back. And then 2019 was the first year that they had like the sanctionals. And that was, I think I competed at Mid-Atlantic. That was the only one I did. And I took 8th place. And that was the year that you had to like win the competition. Mm-hmm. But knowing that I took 8th, there was a bunch of games athletes there. I think that was the competition that really just like flipped the switch. And that was around the time that I had started working with Adam too. I think I had worked with him for a year before that. But I told him, I was like, I want to make the games. That's my goal. Like, I know I can do it. But it was just the strength. It was just killing me. And it took years and years to build.
Now you're strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost made it in 2021, right? Like,
yeah.
So close.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember watching that event. And I was working with TTT at the time, so I was rooting for you. And like, oh.
I was there, and I was like on the finish line. The workout had, and I watched the workout obviously, and was like, come on. And it ended, and they were announcing the top 5, and they go backwards, right? So they'll say first, second, third, fourth, and the final spot. And I was so emotionally invested. I was like, please, 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 please. Like,
they actually, I think
side by side,
yeah.
And she didn't get it, and I was heartbroken. I can imagine. Obviously,
yeah.
you were so much more, but it was like, dang it.
Did that have any effect on how you plan for next year?
Ooh, big time. Tell them about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was 5 years since I had made it to the CrossFit Games at that point, and it just felt like every year I was just failing, and it was getting, I would call it just not fun anymore, because I felt like it was almost like the universe was telling me, you shouldn't be doing this, because I put so much time and work into it. And I was, trying my hardest, and it just felt like it was just not good enough every single year. And so before that event, I remember Adam saying, like, just do what you did in practice, and you're going to the CrossFit Games. And I was like, oh.
What event was it?
It was 15 muscle ups and then a squat clean ladder. And I mean, I did well in practice. I wasn't worried about it at all. But I think I might have just gotten in my head a little bit. I was so excited, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening. And I just wanted the workout to be over, and so I could get my name called. And I just rushed it. And I mean, it absolutely sucked in the moment, and I hated it. I quit CrossFit for like a month or two after it. Like, I was just in a really, really bad place mentally, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think it took that experience and that like failure to really realize how bad I want it. And I think it took that to realize what my potential is too, because it was just like that feeling of failure and hurt and sadness and anger. It just made me so much more fired up the next season. Every workout I did, I would think about how bad it felt not to make it to the CrossFit Games, and no workout could hurt that bad, honestly. And so I just trusted my coach, and I had some really good, really great training partners. I had Sarah and Travis, and Noah came up, and I just trusted it, and I put in the work, and I knew in my heart, I believed that I could make it. And so I just used that kind of anger, honestly, for a few months after during training to just fuel me, and it changed everything. Yeah.
And it was pretty cool because I think you won worldwide the first open, right? The first open workout after that, I think.
I think I got fifth, maybe. Yeah.
You did something cool.
I did something cool.
Was that the one with the wall walks in the?
Yeah.
Didn't you win that one?
No, I didn't win it. I don't know what place I got, to be honest.
Definitely top 5, I think.
Yeah,
Increíble.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool to watch from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, and I didn't. I mean, going into the open, I had no expectations because
your back was broke, wasn't it?
Yeah, my back got, I don't know, tweaked the week before, and I didn't do the workout until I think 2:00 Monday, like an hour before it was due. I didn't even sign up for the open until like 2:00, and I was just really frustrated with my back and just the whole season, last season, and just put my head down. And it started to open off really well, though. Like every week, I kind of just surprised myself, and then quarterfinals went really well, and then obviously the rest of the season went well. But yeah,
put her there, pal.
It was a good year. Especially after last year, it kind of just felt like everything was falling into place finally.
And consistency, I think you were consistent, you were disciplined, you pushed through, and I think that paid off for you.
Yeah, and I also, like with the strength thing, I took time off after West Coast, and I gained like 10 pounds unintentionally, and it ended up being like a blessing in disguise because that season, I mean, like a strength event. We had an overhead squat, a bench, and what was the other? Yeah, the clean. And I don't remember what I got, but I think it was like top 20, which is insane because I've never been a strength athlete before. And so putting on the more muscle just like changed me as an athlete.
For sure.
For the following year. Yeah.
Cool.
We're so proud of you.
Noah, how did you've been with, 2 or 3 coaches, right? You've kind of...
Yep, más o menos.
How did you end up joining TTT? And what difference has TTT made in your athletic career?
I have had a couple coaches over the years, Doug Katona, Dusty Highland, and then... By the time the 2016 games ended, that was my 3rd year competing at the games. My first 2 years, I had taken 8th place and felt like I wasn't progressing, obviously, if you just look at the results of that, 8th and 8th. And then 2016, I had my worst finish ever in 15th. And so I felt like I was kind of on this trajectory leading up to the games, finally qualified, had the stagnant 8th and 8th, and then down in 15. And I was like, this is not the path I want to be on. I want to be going up. So felt like I needed to mix it up after that. Talked to my coach at the time, Dusty Highland, said, hey man, I love you. We have a great relationship. I'm so grateful for everything that you've done. You helped get me to the games, but I just feel like I need something a little bit different for myself in order to excel. So I looked at a bunch of different programs. Obviously, there are many available out there. There's CompTrain. I don't mind sharing this. I don't think anybody else would. But after the ECC in 2015 or 16, I approached Ben Bergeron, who ran that competition, and said, hey, I would really love to be coached by you. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I'd love to talk to you about that. And he kind of shut me down. He just had a few other athletes and said his roster was full and that it wasn't fair to those guys if he took on another athlete. And I was crushed in the moment, but obviously that opened the door to explore other training camps. And I had a conversation with Max. I flew up to Alpharetta. He had me out there so we can get to know each other. We spent a few days talking, had a really great conversation. I felt very confident that, man, this guy really knows what he is talking about. He cares a lot. He's very intelligent. He's very unique as well. He's just a different kind of guy. If you're able to have,
you can tell by actually just speaking to him. That
right,
he's different.
He's so mature for his age too. I was mind blown that he told me he was like a year or two older than me.
Really?
At the time. Obviously, he still is now, but he just seemed so wise beyond his years. Mm-hmm. And then the training that we did those couple of days was very tough, and it was focusing on all the stuff that I had always needed to, but never really wanted to. And so I think that was what sold me on it. It was the good conversation, trusting him as a coach and his intellect, and then also knowing that the programming was going to push me to kind of overcome that period where I felt like I was stuck. And I'm glad that I did, because 2017 games, I don't know exactly what my finishes have been over the years, but I know it's been like 4th, 2nd, 5th, 4th, whatever. I had a few like top 5 finishes the few years after I started working with Max. So I obviously made that big jump up onto the podium and up the leaderboard. And I've been with Max for 7 years now, and there's no reason to switch. You know, I feel loyal to him as a person, as a friend. I still think that the training that he and Training Think Tank put out there is some of the best that there is. And so I'm proud to continue being associated with their organization, and I probably will be all the way through the end of my career.
Now, did you mention that you've said that this is going to be your last year as an individual?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be my 10th year, and that just feels like a good, nice round number to end it on. And when I say end it, it's just like you said, you specified individual. I'd like to continue competing on a team. I think it would be the first transition for me. I'm a big people person. Like, I love doing things with other people, and I think I'll be even more emotionally invested in the success of my performance if it's for and with others. So I'm fired up about that. Masters in the future, who knows? I'm 31 now, so maybe if I've still got the fire to do it, we'll see.
Why do you think it is that many elite individual athletes don't transition into the Masters?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think there obviously have been, for the last 10 years, athletes that have aged up and had the potential to. Some have, like you saw Chris Spieler did it a couple times. Matt Chan did it. Adrian Conway, not Zach Forrest. Kyle Kasperbauer. Yep. So Guido Trinidad, a good friend of mine, we made a joke that he competed at the games individually. Then he did the 35 to 40 category, took like 4 years off unintentionally, competed again in the 40 to 45 category. And I was saying he's just going to show up for like 1 year in each division just to make sure he's still got it. But honestly, I think some guys and gals, once they get to the point that they're 35 and they've been doing it for 10 or 15 years, their bodies are hurting a little bit. You're probably emotionally pretty tired. It's not as lucrative. So I feel like the games, they don't do an adequate job to kind of like showcase those athletes. Right. That's what I think. Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know if it's. I mean, there's the lights are on the individual side, and then masters athletes. I mean, I think they actually compete in another dome, and so I don't know if that's attractive to you guys that have been doing it for
taking a step down onto a smaller stage, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think all of those reasons probably deter people from competing.
Do you think eventually it would be a good idea for the games to actually separate masters competition from the individual, like do it on different dates or stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I think that with teams and masters and teens, all the other divisions besides the open, the fact that they're all in the same week and spectators, fans have to choose which one they want to watch. Almost everybody's going to choose the open division because it's it's the more impressive things. It's where the heaviest weight is going to get lifted. It's where the most volume is going to be done. The most impressive gymnastics are going to happen. And so people are going to pick that, and that means the other divisions are going to be neglected. I think easily if they did, I'm just thinking of teams because it's something that I'm going to do. If they did the teams on another week, end of the year, and individuals separately, there would be a way bigger fan base for teams. People would get invested and excited about certain teams and the people that are on them.
I feel so too.
Yeah. I just don't know if they have the capacity from a financial perspective and others to host 2 CrossFit Games, you know?
So hopefully you'll make it this year, and then we'll see Noah Olsen on a team with Chandler, I think you said, right?
Yeah, Chandler Smith is one of my best friends, and we've talked about doing that for a little while, and we've committed to 2024 being the first year that we go team. We're still recruiting some ladies if there's anyone interested out there. But
Alexis, what about you? What are your plans for the future? Are you still going to try to do individual? I mean, I'm sure this year, yes.
Yeah. I would love to do individual
Shucks.
for a long, long time. Yeah. At least.
You want to be a perennial games athlete.
I want to do it as long as I can until I want to have kids, probably. So maybe in my early 30s.
How old are you?
23.
23. Okay.
I have an interesting question for you.
Yes.
Kind of like an either or. Would you rather compete at the games for 12 years and always do pretty well, top 10?
Top 10.
Yep, top 10 every year for
Okay.
10 years. Or would you rather win the games next year and be done? Or in a couple years and be done? Long, pretty successful career or shorter, very successful career?
Shorter, very successful career.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't know. Obviously, mine has turned into the longer, slightly less successful career, which I'm okay with. You know, I still view it as a success. I love everything that I've accomplished. I'm very grateful for my journey. If you were to say, but if you could go back and just win in 2016 and have retired, would you want to? I don't know. It'd be amazing to have one. I've been super close, but I've been enjoying myself so much for the entirety of it that to give up on that would be tough to do.
Is it a goal of yours to be the fittest man on earth?
Oh, absolutely. That.
I mean, I know you've said it before, but
Yeah, honestly, that was, and that's maybe the first time I've said that, the word was instead of is. That was my goal for the entire time that I've been doing it. Kind of similar to Alexis, but in the exact opposite way, where she was saying that for 5 years she didn't qualify and it was starting to get like frustrating and the universe was telling her maybe, hey, maybe it's not for you. I feel like kind of similarly, like to have tried to win the games for 9 years and to have failed 9 times, that's hard emotionally. Like, again, I have a beautiful life. I'm so happy. I'm usually in a very good mood and very grateful for the life that I'm living. But sometimes when I'm alone and I'm thinking about it, I've failed over and over and over again. And I need to, at some point, check myself, look in the mirror and be like, hey, dude, it's probably not realistic that you're going to win the games at this point. So if you just keep chasing it, eventually, I don't know what would happen eventually. And so I want to stop the process of either coming to resent the fact that I never did it. And that was kind of what played into my decision of saying, hey, I'm going to do it for 10 years. I'm still healthy. I'm still happy. I want to enjoy this year to the fullest, travel and compete a bunch of different places, go to Costa Rica, go to Australia, go to London, all the things that I'm doing now. End on a good note. Even if I've never won, that'll be 1% bittersweet, but 99% of my journey has been amazing, and I'm okay with that.
I feel like that's a good way to think about it, because you are setting yourself for success. You know, because the thing that I'm sure you still have the potential. I strongly believe that you can go out and win the games, and same with you, Alexis. But like only one person wins, and
right.
There's how many people trying to win the games a lot, right? So so I feel like it's important mentally to set yourself up for success and say like, okay, I've had this amazing career, and haven't achieved my ultimate goal, but that's okay. And I think that's a good way to approach it.
Thank you. I definitely recognize that flipping that switch and making that decision is probably lessening the odds that I will win versus being fully committed and training as hard as possible. Like if it were if my mentality was the opposite and I was like, this is my last chance, I'm going to give it everything I've got, which I considered for a little while. Do I want that to be my final chapter?
I'm sure you're still going to train hard.
I definitely will still train hard, but I think if I had made that my sole goal and I like poured everything into it and it didn't happen, it would be so crushing that like, oh, that was my final chance and I didn't do it, versus just shifting my perspective a little bit and saying, you know what, if I win, that would be amazing. And I'm going to continue to train hard and try to, but in that process, I want to have fun. I want to experience life and everything that comes with it. I'm going to get married this year. Hopefully my then wife will be pregnant at the games. And like, there's so much more to life for me now than when I was just 23 years old and that was all I had to focus on. And I don't regret that. I think that helped me be super successful and allows me to live the life that I live now because I was so one-track minded and dedicated towards being successful at the games. But at this point, I'm okay with leaving a little bit of that behind, which it took a long time to feel comfortable with saying.
Yeah, I understand. Alexis, what would any kind of advice for someone who's who's like maybe 15, 14 years old and has that goal of trying to make it to the games? Like, what would you say to that?
I would say find a coach that you can trust.
You love that Adam guy, don't you?
I love Adam so much. He is my favorite. I wish that I had found him earlier. I went through a few different coaches and programmings, and it's just hard because it's kind of, it's like trial and error, honestly. Not every coach is going to fit with you, and it takes a while to build that relationship. And with Adam, it wasn't like we started working together and it was just perfect from the beginning. We had, I would say, years of trial and error before I really felt like we kind of figured out what works for me and us as a team. And so I would say the biggest thing that helped me was finding him and putting my full trust into him and not having to worry about what I'm doing for training. It's just he programs it and I do it and I trust it and it's great. If I was 15 again, though, I would enjoy being 15. I would, experience everything that high school has to offer, go to the football games and hang out with your friends and do all that stuff, and don't take CrossFit too seriously. I
love that advice.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think it's super important. Like I said, you don't get that time back. And, he's how old are you? 30?
31.
Yeah. And so you have so long to compete. And so when you're 15, I get it. Like, you want to be the youngest at the games. Like, I wanted that so bad. I was like, I'm going to be the youngest CrossFit Games athlete. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It's about being happy and having a long, healthy career and not just rushing into it. I wanted to be so strong, and I wanted to, make it to the games, and I would lift super heavy all the time, and I was just getting hurt and I would get burnt out. And so if you find someone that you can trust, they can just put you on a path that leads you hopefully to the games one day, but doesn't burn you out or injure you.
I think for teenagers in general, not just teenage females,
yeah,
making those decisions probably kind of depends on your goals. Like, if you want to win the CrossFit Games as a teenager and don't care so much about qualifying individually beyond that, sure, go all in at 13, 14, 15. But I feel like most teenage athletes are like, I want to compete at the CrossFit Games, so I'm going to do as well as I can as a teenager because it'll help me with that. Yeah. Like you said, that is kind of far away. Like, look at that more long-term goal and definitely enjoy your youth. There's a young girl at our gym that is super into CrossFit right now, Bridie, and she has a half day at school and she's at the gym. She has a day off. She's there all day. And I think it's great. I'm impressed by her dedication, but I also want her to be having fun instead of hanging out with a bunch of 31-year-old goofballs. Like, go hang out with 15-year-old girls and cute boys and like do your thing, you know, like.
And it's hard to balance because I mean you have to be invested, but at the same time you have to live. So that's we've started seeing it here with boys that are like boys and girls that are like 13, 12, 14 years old, that they are absolutely immersed into the CrossFit thing, and they don't do anything else.
There was Luis was at the camp this weekend, 12-year-old kid, and he moves really well. I hope that he has balance in his life. I don't know.
Yeah. There's this guy Isaac. I don't know if you guys met him. I think he was there yesterday too, or the day before. And he's been super successful. He's qualified for semifinals 2 or 3 times, and he's trying to do the whole thing. But I've spoken to his coach, and it's like I'm trying to get this guy like to do others because I mean it's. As you said, you don't get those years back, right? So it's hard to navigate, and I guess with any sport, but like specifically, I believe that no one trains as hard as CrossFit athletes.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
I think so too.
It doesn't help too that, I mean, teenagers now we've seen have qualified as individuals to the games, and so it's kind of becoming a standard. And so these young athletes, they're seeing that and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, I want to do that too." And I get it. Like, I would probably want to do the same if I was growing up now with CrossFit. But I do think it's hard. And I think that if you have maybe the right coach, they could also kind of help you navigate that and help you find that balance. Because, I don't know, I just think it's really important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I know you have a very busy schedule today. And it was a pleasure to get to sit down with you guys.
Un
placer to get to sit down with you guys and talk. I've been watching you ever since I can remember. And Alexis, I'm a fan now.
Thank you.
Too. So hopefully you'll make it to the games. And I'm sure you'll do just great. Thank you.
Maybe we'll compete against each other in the Masters category one day.
One day, hopefully.
Buena suerte.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, brother. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yep.
Si te gustó este podcast y querés ver más contenido de este tipo, no olvides seguirnos en la plataforma de tu preferencia.